Okay. So it's my turn to speak, and I'm speaking as a normal householder. A lot of the things that I was going to say, which in fact my wife had prepared for me, so she's controlling me, she's pulling my strings already. Anyway, fortunately they've been covered in several different ways, so I'm going to try and skip through a lot of stuff, so it may be a little bit disorganized. My name's Paul Cousins. You will see a picture of my house. Rebecca, I hope, won't take offense at my installation. You'll see it shortly. I'll say a couple of points, a couple of notes that I made as I went through. And for the lady at the back, I'd like to just make sure that you realize that the free electricity that people talk about, it's only free while the sun's shining. So you've got to have your slow cooker on during the day, or your washing machine or your tumble dryer during the day to use that electricity that's being produced while the sun is shining. There isn't free electricity any other time. Another interesting little thing about having PV is that, and I don't know if this works with Mr. McCormack's system, I haven't got nothing to do with sundial. I haven't met Mr. Cormack before. I've got nothing to do with Cherwell District Council or anything. But my understanding is that were there to be a power failure, then the whole system fails safe. So in fact, you don't actually have any electricity at all. Where's Mr. Sundial? Is he here? It doesn't matter. Anyway, I just thought I'd tell you that so that you don't think that somehow, oh, if there's a power failure, I'll still be able to have a cup of tea. That's probably not going to happen, because the system wouldn't be safe if there was another feed coming off the roof and somebody went to, fix your system. Another point I made was Mr. McCormack, he talked about the John Paul II Community Centre. That is in fact attached to the Catholic Church in the Causeway. And I've been in that building and I didn't realize I didn't know it had panels on the roof at all. And he said there's 70 panels on or something, 76 panels. So it's been well done. It's a very eco-friendly building, not unlike this here, but on a much bigger scale. And hopefully you'll get a chance to attend something in it soon. The way that we got into this whole thing was that several years ago we did look at PV and electricity, and we went to see a company, and maybe 2 to 3 years ago, and really it made no sense at all. It made absolutely no sense to have any panels on your roof at that time. And because of the amount that they generate, and when the sun stops shining, you've stopped generating. What makes it all worthwhile is the government feed-in tariff. It's totally about that. And then it becomes sensible financially and in a green sense as well. Previous to the government feed-in tariff, you would have had to be a green millionaire to have thought about doing this kind of stuff, because it would have been money just straight out of your pocket. So those are the sort of points I wanted to make early on. So we've got a south-facing house and a southwest-facing house, and it's quite high up, and it's got dormer windows on that face. So it's not a brilliantly clear roof, but we've fitted the panels in between. We've got 12 panels. But we started a year and a half ago with a solar thermal panel, which isn't the big focus of this evening's talk, but you can ask me afterwards if you want to ask me about that. Solar thermal is where there is a liquid, somebody was asking earlier, there is a liquid like glycol or something being pumped through the panel, and it brings the heat down through a coil in your hot water tank, and it heats up the whole tank, and it's a good system to have. Totally different from PV, and the two systems work perfectly together because one is hot water and the other's electricity. There's no real connection between the two. But through our really good experience with the solar thermal, that's what gave us the trust to spend money on further in this sort of area. And in fact, it was the same company who came back to us a year later and said, how's it been going? And have you thought about taking another step and going the PV route? So we'd been running solar thermal for a year, very successfully, a huge amount of hot water all the time while the sun shines, you know. But this is the good side of perhaps climate change, is perhaps if the sun's going to shine a bit more here, well, we'll take advantage of it. Another thing that no one's quite said is that it's highly unlikely in the near future that we're going to see energy costs going down. They really do seem to be only going up. And all those factors make, you know, putting some money into this makes sense. Now, we didn't have a lot of money, but we had a bit of money, but it really wasn't doing anything, as somebody said earlier, not doing anything in the bank. And we thought it makes sense to get £1,000 coming in or whatever each year. When you've spent £9,000 or £10,000, it makes a lot of sense. So having had a really good experience with the solar thermal, the water heating, we were very interested to take it further. It's worth saying that our system got 12 panels on the roof plus this solar thermal panel, and all the machinery involved in it fits within the eaves just underneath the roof, because we've actually got a loft. We've got a loft room. So it's not like we had a clear loft. So we've got bedrooms in the loft. So all the solar thermal stuff with a pump and a little tank and stuff, it fits in about a space from about 1 meter high down to the eaves of the roof. And the whole thing is about this long. So we've got this eaves room, about 1 meter here, going down to nothing, and about that long. So we've got the hot water stuff on this side, and we've got the inverter, and I don't think there's really anything more to it, the inverter here. And then there's some pipes take the electricity down to our meter downstairs. So we've got 12 panels. It produces this. This is what the rating says. We spent 11,000. It sounds as if we were done, but it was less than what we were initially quoted, so we were happy. And perhaps the price is coming down as more people, the government scheme is going to mean a lot more panels going up, and perhaps it is keeping the price down now. We put it in something like May this year, so we may have missed all the best of that very good spring that we had, and we didn't have a great summer. So this is probably May, June, July's figures for us. And we took the meter reading, we phoned E.ON, I think it is, as our provider, and that's what we got back. No questions answered. Once you've sent in that MCS certificate, it really is automatic from that point on. So we got that back for something like May, June, July. We had some free electricity in that time. This also included the 3p export amount that you got. Our real electricity bill, which my wife looks at on the internet, has come down compared to the previous year by half. So, that's the free electricity element that we're talking about here, is that it can happen. But obviously, all the electricity in the evening, then that's just normal electricity. Yeah. What else to say? 12 panels. We've got a very tall house, and to have the whole front covered with scaffolding. So, Rebecca, are you all right? Are you comfortable? This isn't a listed building, but this is from the road. And that was our solar hot water. So there is a liquid being pumped through that when the sun's shining, through this lot here, and then it just goes down through there into the eaves. So the eaves room is just under here. Our house ends there. That's the neighbour's house, our end. And what was I going to say? Got our 12 panels. There's a little wire connects there. So they're actually all connected to one thing. Everything happens in that little room, and it's very simple in a way. It's been no trouble maintenance. Oh, what I was going to say was, when we had the scaffolding up along the front, I don't know if you're allowed to do this legally or insurance-wise, but I actually took all the moss off my roof with a big long scrapey thing, yeah. And so you can see where I've been scraping here, yeah. So I got a lot of moss off, and I'm hoping that moss won't grow underneath these panels. I'm not sure if that will happen or not. I also checked my gutters, got rid of stuff out of the gutters. I checked my pointing. I didn't try and climb up and go looking at my chimneys, but you know, I'm only so brave, but I'm not very brave. Yeah, but you know, there is an opportunity to go up and just check out. So I do suggest that maybe you think about that one at your own risk. That one is. So the panels just sit on the top of the tiles, and there's like a little thing goes over a rafter, and then it's got a little tongue on it. It's coming down under concrete tiles. These were concrete tiles, so it seems very unobtrusive. It hasn't affected anything. Even this one here is a little bit of flashing to protect the water coming down the roof, so it doesn't go in there. It just comes round. So I feel pretty confident about the roof, the integrity of the roof. These here you can hardly see from down here. You just see the edge. There's an aluminium edge along here, so you don't see very much of it at all. What else? There's a little tiny meter downstairs at the back near where the fuse box is, which is the one that records the numbers that you need to read in order to tell your energy company. All these systems come with meters to tell you what's going on and the total amount raised or earned or saved or whatever. And you can become a little bit compulsive about recording these numbers and checking that you're still making money on this sort of stuff. But it's very interesting if you're into maths, and you get very good at your Excel spreadsheets and your maths and so on. But it encourages you to just keep an eye, and also to keep your energy costs down in other ways as well. And anything else I'm going to say? You know all about the feed-in tariffs by now, so it does work. We've got a normal little energy tracking thing to sort of measure the electricity that your house uses, and we see a difference there as well. But the main difference is to check your bill, and that's where you will see the difference. As I say, I've got nothing to do with sundial systems. The guy who spoke earlier, we were with a different company, and but a lot of what he said is what our company did. But I still think, you know, you do have to be a little bit careful and trust. You know, it is a trust thing as to how they'll attach it, and how they'll look after your property. And we got several quotes when we did this here. And because the same company came back to us, we were pretty happy. We negotiated on the price, but we got the price down from what he said. It sounds a little bit more than what Sundial are now saying. So,
the price of panels have dropped.
And possibly it's panels. Possibly, you know, there's more people doing the work, so the engineer, you know, the guys doing the work are more utilized, and there's a bit more money in the whole system. So I think that's it. There was a few questions about if you leave it behind, you know, if you move house, are you going to leave it behind? I don't think you'd think of taking it with you, but so one hopes that it would add to the value of your house, and you would leave it behind, but you would have got something for it. I don't mind the look of it. I know it doesn't look hugely elegant, but on the other hand, yeah, I'm fairly proud of doing something in the green way, but I definitely wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for the feed-in tariff. If the money didn't make sense, I wouldn't have done it. So that's it. If you do have if you've got an immediate question about this, you can ask it now. If you've got a question about the solar thermal, maybe leave it to later, because it's more a PV occasion.
Your slope looks more than optimal.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
How much do you lose for that?
Sorry? Oh, yes. So our slope looks a bit more steep than the 35 degrees that he said. I forget what it is, but I think he actually did give you so many percent for so many degrees that it would change. And any installer would be able to tell you, and I think they will all look at your slope, and they've all got some kind of measuring device that will tell you the direction and the slope, and they'll all do that standard assessment that Sundial was telling you about.
You've got a 2.2 kilowatt system. How many people live in your house?
I meant to say, so it's 2 adults and 2 children. We did have, my mother-in-law unfortunately died a year ago, and some of her money has gone into here, if not most of it. Well, well, I hope she doesn't mind me saying that she lives on in another way. So there's only 4, there's now only... No. I won't repeat that one for the microphone. So there's now only 2 adults and 2 children.
And the energy that's producing, how much of that are you actually using on a daily basis, as opposed to what's just being sent back to the grid?
My wife, she's a stay-at-home mother, works in the evening. So during the daytime, she is in a position to use the electricity and switch on things and do stuff. Now, that doesn't suit everybody if you don't have those cookers and things. So she probably does very well in terms of using it, but I've got no real way of measuring it.
Can you give us any details how you get this hot water into your boiler?
Yeah, the hot water, very simply, this liquid goes into a pipe, there's a pump in here, which pumps it down, in fact, outside our house, which probably isn't the best, but anyway, it's a tall house. So it just goes down the outside in a very well-insulated duct, and then in at the back, straight into a coil at the bottom of a megaflow type tank. We don't have cold water tanks or anything here. It's all a pressurized system. Sorry? No, it's only our hot water. It's not to do with our central heating. It only heats the hot water cylinder. Central heating is normally just heated as you use it, straight from the boiler. It doesn't really have a hot water cylinder, as far as I know, anyway. But maybe there may be other ways, I don't know. But it's been very good for us, I have to say.
So I have a quick question. You kind of touched on it already, but do you think you've changed your habits of using electricity? Do you think about it more?
We definitely think about it since a couple of years ago, just having one of those little 15-pound meters that tell you your electricity usage. And the whole thing about leaving things on standby and so on, you really do notice. You also notice when you switch on the kettle for a cup of coffee and the thing goes like that. So you definitely become more aware. So for £15 or whatever they are, then it's a great place to start. And similarly, another place to start is to check your lagging and your insulation and so on. And perhaps I'll be checking that when I go back as well. So my wife is very much aware of what she could do during the day in terms of using the electricity. We are this hot water, if the children, I tell the children to have a bath early in the evening in the summer while the sun's still shining, so that the water that they've used, the sun's still shining, so there'll be more heat coming in so that it'll still be hot for us. Yeah. Because there isn't really 2 full baths in this tank, but there's one and a bit. Yeah. So it has changed. It's made us more aware, and it has changed some of our habits, as you've said. Yeah.
How long does your hot water last once it's been in there then?
Oh, it's
once the sun's going down.
my wife. This is these megaflow. It's a megaflow type cylinder. So it's a freestanding cylinder so high, which we had one before anyway, with only one coil.
Do you know how many litres
And
it is?
I think this is 160. I think my wife wrote the figure down here. I think we previously had a 210, but this is a 160, I think it is. It's whatever fitted in the little boiler room that we have. And it's got a coil in the very bottom there, and it's also got a coil midway or a third of the way up from the gas boiler.
That's what we're looking for.
when the sun goes down, what are we looking at? Sort of 5,
So-
6 hours it stays on?
Oh no, this will stay on. You'll have hot water the next day. I mean, these are very well insulated cylinders. It's more than a lagging jacket. It's built in. They're very good cylinders to have for any kind of system anyway. Yeah.
Does your hot water cylinder have an immersion heater?
And we've got immersion, but
So that can be backed up?
we've never used it. So we've got the lowest coil coming from the roof, the middle coil a third of the way up from the gas heater, and then we've got a couple of, at least I think we've got 2 immersion rods in there.
If you use the immersion to heat the water to see what that does with your gas bill or your energy bills?
We haven't needed to, but we have them as a standby should something go wrong.
Let's rely on the sun.
Yeah. Okay, one more, the last one I think, yes.
So, double-edged
Yeah.
question. Your PV,
Yeah.
is that on daylight or on actual sunshine?
That's a good point. It's probably one better given to the sundial guy. I'm pretty sure this here is very efficient at collecting light because it's got a very mirrored thing behind the little pipes. I'm not so sure how well this is in direct sunlight is fine, but in just daylight, I'm not sure how efficient it is. But this here is pretty good here.
So the PV ones,
Yeah.
you've got a combi boiler, which
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Never owned a house before, but it's something to do with like the water's there and this thing is heated, but it's electrically run. So would our electric,
Yeah.
PV ones, would that run our?
This here's nothing to do with our water.
No.
Okay.
The
This one.
the bit in the middle.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that because we're not thinking about getting that. We're just thinking about the
Yeah.
solar
So
panel.
this here will just produce some electricity for you, and if you were to switch on an immersion heater during the day, you'd get some free electricity going into to heating your water if you had an immersion heater and you switched it on a hot day.
Right. What
Then
about, like if you're switching on your gas to heat your water,
yeah.
because that has to still be done by electric, or?
There's a pump in your system, and if you were to switch on your gas during the day, then any electricity you use during the day, you'd get 2 kilowatts. 2 kilowatts is 2 bars of an electric fire. It's about a kettle, enough to boil a kettle. It's not a huge amount. But obviously, anything you do during the day, you'll get the benefit of it.
Get one of those little meter things and timers, which we're both out at work just
Yeah.
now.
You could get a slow cooker and put it on a timer.
I've got slow cooker.
Yeah. And put it on a timer, as you probably do already, maybe.
No, I would just switch it on at 6:30.
Right, but if you had it on a timer, it would be hot by the time you got home, and it would have used electricity from here.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.